The issue is that a lot of people are basically tailbacking off of OpenAI's ChatGPT, and they're adding a few different features, and a lot of the content that's being uploaded into generative AI platforms are just being uploaded into OpenAI's ChatGPT. And then what they get is they get some kind of new graphical user interface that is customized for the person and what they want to provide by their company. But the content that's being uploaded is actually going to OpenAI's, ChatGPT engine, and they're actually learning from the content. So the content is actually becoming available to third parties, which is one of the issues. The other issue is that what's being created by some of these platforms, if they're not isolated systems, is that it's combined scraped content, which is basically content that's available on the internet, right? That's been scraped all the way up to 2021. And it's combining that content with what you're entering as well to provide a result, which can result to copyright infringement, trademark infringement, things like that. And so I've been training thousands of people. I've done some trainings in DC and to make people aware of how to use the systems properly so you don't run into problems, basically. Because technology is phenomenal. It's just you have to know how to use it so you don't run into legal problems. Many of them aren't aware of what the issues are. So they get people to sign up for using their platforms, and then they end up in a lawsuit. And unfortunately, since the platform that people are subscribing to is their platform, the result is that they end up becoming liable for the content that's going to third parties unless they have some kind of legal agreement that with the customer that makes it clear that they're not liable. So the whole point is, if you are creating your own standalone system that's not gathering information from third parties, right? It's making an isolated system where somebody uploads their content and it's making modifications based on the functionality of the platform itself, but it's not taking other parties' harvested information. It's not taking scraped content. Then you're decreasing the chances of you having a problem in any way, shape, or form, which is beautiful. That's the way to go. And then what you do is you make sure that you're not storing other people's uploaded content, because that's another way you can run into problems unless they give you a disclaimer saying that you can do that. There was one platform that you can upload your videos, Audacity. I think it's Audacity. You upload your videos, it'll transcribe it for you automatically. You can take your transcription, upload that into ChatGPT, and have it just draft whatever you want, right? So the problem with that, though, is that ChatGPT will now take your transcription and potentially make that available to third parties because they're learning. That's how they learn. Now, there's a version of ChatGPT that you can use, like ChatGPT Enterprise or some other things, to make sure that it doesn't harvest your content. But even the CEO of OpenAI came out and said, don't put anything confidential in here. Don't put anything that's copyrighted in here, because we learn from your content, we train from your content, we make your stuff available to third parties. And if somebody puts in the right prompt, they're going to get your stuff, or they're going to get a derivative of your stuff. So, but if I have a company and I have my own AI platform and I don't do that, like I'm not scraping, I'm not harvesting from third parties, I already have the functionality, and so ABC company becomes a member. Now I can learn from ABC company, but what I'm learning is only available to ABC company, not available to third parties. If I can do that, that's phenomenal. So that's where a lot of people are making a ton of money in building AI platforms, is ones that are not harvesting from third parties, making it available to others. And they're also making sure they have some very strong disclaimer language. I've been doing IP for 26 years. I'm a litigator as well, and the lawsuits are being filed every week now in the area of AI. It's becoming very big. And 4 years ago, I warned people. Like I did the Law for AI masterclass. We were just putting together a video compilation of some of the TikToks and other videos that I did 4 years ago, just warning people, so that we can tell people about the Content Creator Legal Bootcamp that's coming the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the end of this month. But the video basically is telling people from 4 years ago, watch out for this. This is going to turn into this. Watch out for this. This is going to turn into this. And so it's like there's the speaking, and then here's the proof, and the speaking, and here's the proof, and the speaking, here's the proof. So now we're in the third phase of what I had predicted, which is individuals are going to get sued. There are right now generative AI platforms where you can interact and it does not harvest your data. Basically, if you came out with 4 prompts in particular that they're utilized in a certain sequence, it results in like an outstanding result. Number one, you should own the copyright for that, because you could actually own copyrights for prompts. 4 prompts, put them on a sheet of paper, submit it to the Copyright Office, and pay your $65 online. I think it's a short form TX, go to copyright.gov. It's so easy to do. And now if somebody copies your exact prompts, your exact 4 prompts in your sequence, they would be committing copyright infringement. That would be very valuable to you. If you created, unique prompts that are highly valuable, then make sure that nobody else can use them, right? So that's the first thing I would do. Then the second thing is I would do some research to see if there's certain sites where your prompts can be utilized where what the person uploads is not going to be harvested. And if that is available, that is amazing, because now all of a sudden you have a way to make sure people don't run into loss of their content. They don't run into copyright infringement. Like, you've created a very powerful platform. And what I would never do is make your prompts available to third parties. I would never show them to others. I would keep them to yourself and say, hey, you hire our company, you upload here. Like, what you do is you create your own graphical user interface, your own software platform where your stuff is working on the back end. Nobody can see your prompts, and it's all automated. Somebody uploads this, it automatically works within the system. But I would still get the disclaimers in place that say, you're not responsible for whether somebody's content is harvested and made available to third parties. You're not liable under trademark infringement, under copyright infringement. They assume all liability associated. Like, I would lay those things out, make it really clear. I'd say if you can nail the main issues of what I discussed, then I would keep your prompts on the back end so nobody can see it. You could have the questions asked. Nobody can see the prompts. Have it an automated system that's just running by itself. Like, you do not have to disclose to anyone. I would file the copyright on it yourself so nobody else can see it. And if anybody ever somehow saw it, it would be copyright infringement if they actually grab the same thing. Now, copyright does not protect the functionality. As an example, Samsung had 2 engineers that uploaded some code for one of their cell phones, right? Trade secret code. This was like 2 years ago, something like that. They uploaded it into ChatGPT to do some editing and fixing of some source code that wasn't working properly. All that code that was uploaded became available to third parties. So Samsung reached out to OpenAI and said, hey, this is proprietary content. We didn't know you guys were making this stuff available to third parties. Get it out. And the owners of OpenAI said, that's not possible. Like, it's generative AI. It learns. Like, the second you entered it, it went into the model and it learned. And so we can't pull it out. It's like you're making spaghetti sauce and the person's allergic to garlic. You drop a clove in there. Even if you take a clove out, you got to throw out the sauce. It's beneficial to understand these things up front. There's another aspect to this. I'm just giving you information just to help you out. So there's another aspect to this which is really important. The federal district court and the Copyright Office have both come out and said that you cannot own under copyright law anything that's created by AI, right? That's the law of the land. However, as of 2 weeks ago, there's been over 1,000 copyright filings that have been registered using AI enhanced content. Your platform is creating something that's AI enhanced, or is it in fact creating an original work where the creative element is coming from AI itself? Because if the creative element's coming from AI, you can't own it under the copyright law. And who cares? The people who care are the authors, because if I try to sell my books, online on eBay or whatever, Amazon, stuff like that, and other people can just copy it, well, what the heck? Like, I spent all that time and money and I can't stop anyone from copying it. So copyright is extremely important. So what you want to do is test your prompts. Like, take somebody's video or whatever, their audio, whatever, and have it work with your prompt and see if the AI rendering is really just working from what was already input, or is it really creating on itself? It's creating on itself. That means AI is the creator. If what it's really doing is harvesting the pieces from what's uploaded, then the creative element was done outside. Therefore, AI, in my opinion, as somebody who's been doing this for 26 years, AI is actually enhancing. The difference between the two is ownership. That's a
Yeah.
huge issue that nobody's talking about. And so you want to be on the side of enhancement, not on the side of creativity. So the question is, do I own the book or not? If what's happening is when the person who says step number one, blah blah blah, step number two, blah blah blah, step number three, blah blah blah, step number four, blah blah blah, and if those are being put into the book, then the creative element was done by the person, right?
Correct.
It wasn't
Correct.
created by AI. But if
Right.
what AI does is AI comes in and says, okay, well, this is talking about one, two, three, and four. I think what that really means is these two major steps are involved. And it comes out and spits out two major steps that are not what was in the four that were listed, then AI is creating, in which
Yeah.
case the person doesn't own the book. And so this
Mhm.
is where it becomes really important for prompt engineers to determine what exactly are their prompts doing. Are their prompts creating or enhancing? This is something no one in the industry is talking about, and it's going to be one of the biggest things within the next 7 to 8 months that are just literally going to transform the entire industry when people realize, hold it, I could actually own what's created by AI if it's something's enhanced. I didn't know that. What does enhancement mean? How do I do enhancement? Do I have a prompt
Yeah.
engineer in my company who knows how to write a prompt so well that what AI does based on that prompt is it enhances, it doesn't create? That
Yeah.
right there is going to be the money load. That's where people are going to make like hundreds of millions, because you have to know the difference between the two. The problem right now is people don't even know that a difference is needed. They don't even know that there's an ownership issue with copyright law. They're so
Yeah.
far detached. And this is where you can run into problems as a business owner, is that you have somebody come into your company, you create a book, and now all of a sudden they believe they own the book. They
Yeah.
file a federal copyright for it, which is actually fraud because they actually didn't create it. AI actually created it. And now they go and they upload the book on Amazon. Somebody copies it. They file a copyright claim against that party. That party says, hold it, your book, somehow during discovery, they realized that your book was created using this program, and this program is AI. So they say, hold it. My affirmative defense is that you actually don't own anything under copyright law because the platform that was used to create your book was an AI platform. And the federal district court and the copyright office have both said that you can't own what's created by AI. Therefore, you actually don't own your book. And that's a defense for me. So you can't sue me because you don't own the copyright. That party then comes back to you and says, hey, I paid you 5 grand to like write this book for me using your platform. And what you did was you made the content available to the public and I can't actually own it on top of that. What the heck? Like, and that's how the lawsuit ends up going against the company. My stuff is available to the public. I don't essentially own it because AI created it. It just used portions of my stuff that's now publicly available. But if it's done properly, like based on the steps that I just talked to you about, if people do that right, these companies are going to be, not only are the companies going to make a lot of money, but people are going to be able to take them down. So that's how I see it all playing out. So with that, I would look at your platform. I would file the copyright. Just look at the other pieces. Am I using OpenAI's ChatGPT? Okay, yep, I am telling into that. Is there a version of that that I can use that doesn't harvest the content that's being uploaded? Yes or
Yeah.
no? Next question. Is it the case that the work that's being done by the platform that I created, the AI platform I created, is actually enhancing or is it creating? C is what's being written based on what's being uploaded predominantly, or is it creating, newly creating? And if the newly created content is essentially the essence of the copyright, I've got a problem and I have to tweak the prompt. And so if if the people who are writing the prompts can learn how to draft prompts that create, when it's creating, it's doing enhancement of what's being uploaded. You've created a whole new era of copyrighted works through use of AI, because it walks right by the main issue, which is you cannot own under copyright law something that's created using AI.
Yeah.
But you can own something that's enhanced. So if you can own something that's enhanced and you can write a prompt that enhances and doesn't create, you just created a copyright engine. So now all of a sudden you can automatically create copyrightable works, because what's being created is enhanced content, not newly created works. And every one of those things is either a derivative of the original copyrighted work or
Yeah.
something that can be filed right now. And this is one of the things that's been, I don't want to say frustrating, because I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm blessed. I sit here, I look at the lake, I get to spend time with the Lord and with my family, enjoy life, and but what bothers me is when I get a phone call from somebody who I know is going to spend $1 million of my legal bills getting out of trouble, when all they had to do was understand basic knowledge. That's all
Yeah.
they needed. I mean, basic stuff. But they don't, there's so much information out there that they don't know which sources are authentic, which ones are not trying to
Uh,
sell them something, which ones are
Yeah.
actually going to help them. They don't know. And it's not their fault. There's just so much information.
Yeah.
So my hope and desire has been literally to get my courses in front of like hundreds of thousands of people, so that
Mhm.
we can imagine that all of a sudden these AI businesses are growing, but they're not potentially liable to the party who's using their system, or they actually could create things that are copyrightable. They don't
Yeah.
run into trademark infringement, copyright infringement, and they can enjoy their lives more because AI is enhancing their lives.